Welcome to the Shootin The Que podcast presented by Heath Riles Barbecue with tips, tricks, and an inside look at some of the top pitmasters in the game. Now here's your host, Heath Riles.
Welcome back to Shootin The Que. Today I'm joined by my lovely wife, Candace. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
And we have a special guest on today, Mr. Floyd Benson from Memphis In May. How are you doing today, Floyd?
Great. How are you?
Man, I'm getting ready to start practicing. I guess it's time to...
I'm getting ready too.
And getting ready to start laying it out.
Start laying it out.
So kind of tell everybody who you are and kind of what you do for Memphis In May.
So my name is Floyd Benson. I'm VP of Operations for Memphis In May. So I am responsible for producing the events, basically. So from start to finish, building the event and tearing it down once it's done.
And making sure everybody follows the rules the right way.
Do my best to make sure that happens for sure.
So how did you honestly get into event management years ago?
Honestly, completely by accident. I got my degree in political science and had no idea what to do with that after I graduated college. I lived in Memphis in 94, 95. Memphis May was hiring. I did not know what Memphis In May was. Applied for the job, BS'd my way through the interview, got hired, and so I was at Memphis In May as the executive assistant for 2 years. Then I left, came back in 1999, worked there from 99 to 2006, did food and beverage, or managed food and beverage for all of our events, merch. 2000, I was put in charge of producing the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest, so I did that from 2000 to 2006. Left, did some other things in between, and then came back in 2016 as Director of Operations, then promoted to Vice President of Operations. So,
well, that's pretty cool there. Wow. So
I can't stay away, or they can't keep me away. One of the two.
So over the years, how have you seen just the landscape of Memphis In May change, or how difficult has it been for you as the landscape of Memphis In May has changed? I guess that's a better question. Because you've been around, let me back up, since the development of the riverfront thing that the boats pull up to down there, and that space was took from Memphis In May to use, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So much and built up. And then y'all lost a little more space to some parking lot and basketball court or project right there on the end.
Yes.
So at one time, the World Championship was close to 300 teams, correct?
When I was doing it, our peak was, I want to say 265, maybe a little bit more, but yeah, it was about 265 teams. And that was, there's always been some kind of challenge, even before the redesign and even before the hump that we, Beale Street Landing, everybody calls it the hump, I think.
It is a hump with no gas line.
But, when they first put in, our capacity for Tom Lee Park used to be 55,000 people, so, Beale Street Music Festival back in the day, 99, 2000, we had 165,000 people over 3 days. There were several years where we sold out all 3 days. Then they put the median down Riverside Drive. That, kind of cut our capacity because a lot of the space we used to use on Riverside Drive had to move into the park. So, over the years, we just had to adapt. That's what you do. You adapt to the venue that you have, and you make it work. And we always made it work. So,
well, I'm pretty sure I can make one statement about the move that you're probably glad of, and that's not fighting the mud, right?
I love asphalt and concrete. I will take asphalt and concrete over grass any day of the week for sure.
So, Floyd, tell me, what does a typical year look like of planning leading up to an event? Because just to say Memphis in May is over, right? Mm-hmm. How long do you guys give yourself a break after you tear down to get ready for the next year, or is there a break?
There is. So, of course, after we don't get our break until after May's over, because we do have another event after the World Championship, and that's Great American River Run. But so June is we're all getting some sleep and just kind of recovering from the month. So, and we're also, there's a lot of cleanup involved after the festival, and a lot of paperwork, getting invoices in, getting bills paid, things like that. So that's pretty much what June is. Then July, August, we start having discussions internally about the dates for next year, and getting just a lot of pre-planning in terms of new ideas, or we do a review, what we call our 10-10 list, 10 things that worked well, 10 things that didn't work well. Sometimes it's hard to limit it to 10 and 10, but so it's reviewing, having meetings with everybody, and then really August, September, we start kicking off again. We've got our dates for next year. We start laying out the plan as far as when are we going to release team applications? When are we going to do the judging seminar? When are we going to do all those? We sort of lay out the timeline for the year, and just start working from there. And then obviously during the after Thanksgiving, nobody's thinking about anything except Christmas and New Year's. So we kind of wind down, and then once we come back after the holidays in January, we kick up in high gear. So it's I tell my wife every year, kiss me goodbye in February, because you're not gonna see me for the next 4 months. So
February is when it really, the manual labor starts, I would say.
Yeah,
starting rolling in. It's just planning
really,
and work before that.
We'll start. We've got a dedicated core of volunteers. One of our committees is production committee. We'll start doing production committee meetings at our warehouse on Saturdays in February, where we start dusting off the cobwebs and refurbishing stuff and getting things prepped for the festival.
Fixing anything got tore up.
Fixing anything that got tore up, build new things. Kevin Grothy, our VP of sponsorship, always has lots of ideas for sponsorship opportunities, and a lot of times that falls on ops to kind of make that happen. So there's always something to do.
So from your earlier roles at Memphis in May to now, how has your perspective changed on Memphis in May, or evolved? What have you seen change over the years, for the good, bad? Mostly good, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, the first part of that, I would say, my love of this festival has only grown over the years. I always refer to the Memphis in May family, because I look at it as a family. For me personally, I can't think of a single friend or person that I know that I didn't meet or become friends with directly through Memphis in May. My wife, I'm married to who I'm married to because of Memphis in May, and I think that's one of the great things about the festival is everybody has those stories,
right?
And every whether you're a volunteer or just or a patron or a barbecue team or a judge or whatever, everybody's got a memory and some connection to that organization, to this organization, because it's a big part of the city's history,
right?
And so that has never changed for me. Over the years, events we've done different events. Sunset Symphony we did for years. Yeah. That went away. We've done other events, but our mission has always stayed the same. So,
right.
We exist to serve the city and the citizens of Memphis, and that's what we do.
It seems like over the last couple of years that a lot of people has become more passionate about Memphis in May. Do you kind of feel that same way about, especially since the move and everything else? You've got a lot of people that's kind of took a foothold about, the World Championship, Memphis in May, of sticking with the World Championship, and I'm one of those persons or people. So for you seeing the move from downtown to Liberty Park, and you seeing all this, how does those changes? Do y'all see about I guess a better way for me to put this, do y'all see some growth changes coming now that you have the landscape to expand Memphis in May?
Well, so to answer the first part, I would say, I've certainly seen the passion of Memphis in May supporters for sure. I think some other people have certainly seen that passion as well, particularly from the barbecue community. A few years ago, when the plans were announced for Tom Lee Park and all of that, they certainly made their voices heard. And we appreciate, the passion of the people who support the organization. As far as growth, obviously, and it's not unique to Memphis in May. COVID did a lot for events. There are a lot of events that don't exist anymore that existed, 5 years ago. So I think, we, along with a lot of other events, are still kind of in a, the model that worked 5 years ago doesn't necessarily work now.
That's right.
And there are also a lot of challenges that events didn't necessarily have 5 years ago. Everything's more expensive. I mean, it just is
Almost twice as much.
If you're lucky, or 3 times as much. But so we're still navigating those waters, post COVID, just like anybody else. But to the venue, I mean, certainly every site has its challenges,
Plus and minuses, let's say.
Plus and minus. I mean, I love Liberty Park. I love the people. The GM out there, Brian, and his team. They're very supportive. They're in the event business. They're professional. They know what it takes to produce events, and they make us feel welcome. They want us there, and that is, for me personally, that's very. That makes my life a lot easier.
I was going to say, it makes your job easier. It makes getting up and doing it.
Yes,
that month.
I mean, I can't say enough good things about the team out at Liberty Park, and I love being there. Does it have the same aesthetic as a riverfront? No, not necessarily, but it's different, but it's not. It's not necessarily better or worse in that.
In that sense.
And
like you said, it's one trade-off for another.
It is. I mean, do you want to wait in the line downtown to load in and load out? Or do you want to be in mud? Or do you want to not be in that and be on pavement? Those are the two biggest places.
Well, I was going to say, do you feel like there were any big logistical hurdles when it moved to Liberty Park, or do you feel like it made your life a little easier, honestly, when it came to that part of it?
Well, when we moved in 22, when Tom Lee Park was under construction, obviously Beale Street Music Festival was happening at that time. That was probably the biggest challenge or the biggest concern for me, because we had done barbecue in Tiger Lane before,
right?
When Tom Lee Park flooded, so right. We kind of had even though the people or the operations people weren't still around, but we
had a baseline.
We had a baseline, and there was some institutional knowledge, and we had a map to kind of start working off of. Beale Street Music Festival. No, I mean, we'd never done it outside of Tom Lee Park before, so that was probably the biggest thing. But in terms of barbecue, no, I mean, like you said, Heath, load in is so much easier, so much easier.
I just cannot get over how much. I mean, I was like, seriously, this is load in? Like, wow, this is.
Yep. But again, the infrastructure is not necessarily there at Tiger Lane that we had down in Tom Lee Park in terms of electrical and the amount
Gotcha.
or where it's located. But again, that's what we do. We figure these things out and we make it happen.
So, do y'all see in the future, since Memphis in May is going to continue to be at Liberty Park, do they plan on doing, not Memphis in May, but does the park plan on doing any upgrades to make it better for events like that, like Memphis in May?
I don't know, or I don't know
If
for
that's what
certain.
you're talking about.
For certain, I know. Several years ago, Thomas Carrier, who was the GM out there, and he left. Several years ago, he had mentioned some sort of long-range or long-term plans for that property as a whole. Whether those plans have changed or what those plans are, I don't know. I'm not privy to it. But again, it's a great space. They built the recreation center out there. Obviously, they're doing renovations to the stadium right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great property, and hopefully
It does have a lot of potential, I feel like.
agree.
Especially with they're still following through with the hotels over there and things. And I haven't been over there in a minute. Is the hotels going up now?
I don't,
Or is just
That
the
I don't know.
Coliseum being redone at the moment?
I guess we've got our volunteer kickoff party at the Pipkin Building tomorrow. So I'll see tomorrow if there's a hotel up. I know last year the parking lot was there over in that area, but I don't know if they've actually started construction on that hotel.
Yeah. That would be really nice with a couple of hotels there for.
Oh,
right there.
I'd love it if I could get a room there. I sleep on a couch in the Pipkin Building. So
Oh, for real?
yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'm sure the
I thought they
hotels
had
would
y'all
be
trailers.
utilized in other ways.
Well, their office. Mac has a trailer. I don't have a trailer. We set up our offices in the Pipkin Building. So that's why I stay on site on a couch in the Pipkin Building.
Wow. That is a lot of devotion right there.
Well, it's really more as a kindness and a courtesy for my wife and my family, because inevitably somebody's going to do something stupid at 2 a.m.
You're
And
going to get up and go.
and I have
Easier
to
for
get
you
up
to
and
be
go,
there.
so it's easier for me just to be there and deal with it and not drag her into it.
Well, that brings up another question for me. What is the stupidest thing that you have seen happen at Memphis in May that could have been prevented? And that's a good question.
Gosh.
You may not want to tell maybe the stupidest. I don't know.
Well, I'm just
that could be anything.
there are.
You probably have
There's
that
no
10-10 list.
shortage. Yeah, there's no shortage of stupidity. That's for sure. I don't know. I mean, everybody just, people hit things. People,
There's a lot of non-backers is what I see that cannot drive a trailer.
there is. And I also don't want to, I'll be, I can tell you some of the stupid things that I've done. Probably the dumbest one was, and I call it a Hurricane Priscilla. The storm that came through, I think it was 2017, 2018. We had 80 mile an hour straight line winds. It knocked over the obelisk in Tom Lee Park. That storm came through immediately after one of our events, and me and my site coordinator went into my office trailer to ride out that storm, which the worst. Not that we had any place else to go, but
That might not have been the best choice.
a metal trailer
Not strapped down.
not strapped down, parked precariously next to the Mississippi River in 80 mile an hour straight line winds is not that I don't know if we could have prevented that, but that's a dumb thing that I certainly did.
Well, it would probably take a minute to realize you've done that, standing in the trailer, realize, let's get in here out of this weather, and then go, oh, no.
Oh, we legitimately had that moment. I remember very vividly. We're sitting in my office, and it felt like a Mack truck just ran into the side of the trailer, and we both looked at each other like, okay, this.
Let's find the door.
We need to do something here. So yeah.
Wow. So what year was it that the park was evacuated?
Which time?
Okay,
there was one year that they closed the park too, and it was like
that was during the daytime.
Yeah, I believe it may have been due to weather because they said the people that were there could stay there, but no one else could enter.
That was lightning strikes. I remember that.
Yes, and that is, and I'm only half joking about which time because before I came as VP of Operations, I think Memphis In May had only evacuated one time in its entire history. It was, and I wasn't there at the time. It was there was a tornado in Arkansas, I think. So they evacuated that year and shut the event down.
Is that when everybody had to go to the parking garage on Bill Street?
I think so. So. I heard about it. I know that was probably interesting.
That was probably a big mess. I wasn't there for that.
Because you wasn't allowed to stay in your booth, and some people's meat got stolen. Somebody's hog got thrown out of a cooker. I mean, it was all kind of horror
It's just
stories
people
that I heard.
being reckless and careless, though.
But honestly, I've lost count how many times we've had to evacuate because of weather. And that's the thing. We don't. Well, first and foremost, we take event safety and security very seriously.
Have to. Yeah. I know that even me sometimes it's like lightning strikes. Really, I mean, I'm the same way. When you got people standing at the gate and we're in here and they just won't let anybody in, and like we had a friend that was that went through the gate to give somebody a wristband, right?
Yep.
And then she goes to walk back through and they go, "Oh, ma'am, you can't get back in." And she had to stand there like 2 hours. That's the top of the hill or something.
She got to stand with her friend. She handed the wristband.
Ain't nothing I can do for you. You got to stand up there. The man said, "You can't come in. You can't come in. Ain't nothing I can tell you to do." And she had to stand up there with no drink, nothing else, because she done run out. I thought it was funny. I mean, but.
Well, I've done a lot of events, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I've certainly seen some things that I'm very fortunate that I got out of. So I do take it very seriously, and I take, I have a duty of care for the people who are on that site, and I take that very seriously. I don't ever want to have to deal with a serious injury or a death or anything like that. So, right. But we do take it seriously, but when we do evacuate, it's 9 times out of 10, it's, for lightning, which again, not anything that you want to mess around.
You don't want to get struck by lightning.
No, you don't.
What, 22 was the last time?
22, evacuated over to the Liberty Bowl, right?
Liberty Bowl, yeah. In the concourse, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was a grand time for me. I mean, everybody just hung out. It was kind of a gathering, you know what I mean? At least it wasn't like some of the evacuations I've seen, but over there in Liberty Bowl, everybody was just hanging out, and everybody carried coolers, and
I was home with a newborn.
You were at home. It was a good time, I thought.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with it. Wow. So, how many years have y'all had to throw somebody out of the park for jumping in the Mississippi River?
Oh goodness.
Me personally, I don't remember any time.
I know one dude got arrested one year, but I'd have figured it had been more instances than that.
Oh, I'm sure there probably were. It's tough to one, you hope that people use some sense, but it's tough to police that riprap down on the river. Not so much an issue now because of, again, how they've sort of redesigned it, but playing down on those rocks close to that water is not smart for anybody.
It's not smart. We've seen the cops get him out of there. We were on Riverside then, and they arrested him. He was wet, and they hauled him off to jail.
if he was in the river.
I mean, no event is worth, dude, pay the $12 or whatever it was at the time to.
They were, I think, a team, and somebody got in there.
Oh, they just decided
somebody
to go for a
drunken
swim.
in a team 10. I don't know if it was a team in general, but it was somebody that was already in Memphis in May that got in the water. Just thought it'd be cute to swim around in the water.
He's lucky they didn't get him out of the water in New Orleans.
I mean, you're right about that, because the way the tide is out there in the current, I mean, or the way
Looks
the current
rough.
is, I mean, and logs and stuff, that's just being dumb anyway, jumping in there.
Yes.
So going back to Tiger Park, one year y'all have had the stage, y'all have kind of moved the stage around multiple times. Kind of tell me why that is. I guess I'm wondering that from a team perspective, why y'all moved it from like in the grass over by what they call Tiger Lane to back in the next lot. Is it just positioning of the sun, or?
Well, so in 22, because we were doing Beale Street Music Festival, just operational efficiency. That was where one of the main stages was for Beale Street Music Festival. So it just made sense to do that. Now, it wasn't the same stage, but we already had all the ground covering and everything there. So it made sense to put the stage there. But that also came with the cost. The grass on Tiger Lane is soft. I mean, it is like a sponge. It's not like Tom Lee Park where you've had years of that to be compacted
down.
So it was a chore getting that stage in and out after the festival. So after that, we decided to put it on asphalt. We won't have to worry about it. And I know last year a lot of people thought the stage was too far away, or they couldn't find it or whatever. So we're going to move it again this year.
Really?
Yes.
So where is it going to be this year?
I don't know. I'm waiting for somebody to tell me.
I wait for somebody to. You gonna pull it up 10 foot and drop it?
Yeah. No, it's.
I thought it was in a good spot last year.
I did. I mean, that's why I put it there. I thought it was too. But
It's never going to be convenient for everyone.
That's, you try and tell everyone that.
Well, I kind of like that you kind of had it off by itself. You know what I mean? And you didn't have it amongst the team spaces, because it seems like the year that it was at the end between all the teams on the rows, that a lot of people did not come out of their team spaces, that they stayed in them. And that is not very impactful to a standpoint. And I know one thing that I'm glad y'all did was stop doing a top 10. I know that was not y'all's doings, and that was Jim's thing, I think.
Notifying the teams ahead.
Notifying the top 10. It builds up anticipation, not knowing.
I agree. And I think, there was a noticeable difference last year at the awards versus previous years. I was honestly, I remember standing outside the Pipkin building and just seeing, just throngs of people heading to the stage. And I started getting, a little concerned, like, is there enough room in front of this stage for all these people? Because it was packed.
Plenty of room.
Well, I mean, once everybody got, like, it was, there were a ton of people there, which was great. So, the other reason why, because of construction, at the Liberty Bowl, some of the areas that we had access to last year,
not going to have access.
We don't necessarily have access to this year. So, again, that's what we do. We deal with whatever challenges.
Well, I didn't think about the construction of it probably is gonna have some effect on some of the lots around through there with parking. Will it affect some of the parking and the team parking this year?
It shouldn't. The lots that are kind of off limits to us are, they're using for staging for the actual construction. For the most part, we have the same footprint that we had last year. So, we just have to shift some things around a little bit. But no, we're still going to do team parking like we did last year, and judges parking as well. So
that's a lot more convenient. I really liked how y'all done that. It really, I feel like, made a huge difference, especially with the judges.
Oh, I agree, and again, that's one of the benefits for us at being at Liberty Park is, we never had access to parking really in Tom Lake Park. We had Ashburn Coppic Park that we would use for operational or for staff, volunteers, whatever. We had a boneyard lot that we could use for some parking, but we just did not have.
You still had to
parking.
walk a long way.
You still had to walk a long way. So being able to provide parking for judges and teams definitely a major benefit from being there. And I think you tell me as a team appreciate the.
I absolutely love being able to drive right in and unhook and go and not having to stand in a line or anything like that. I mean, to me, it makes a world of difference, and being able to let multiple people in to get their rigs at one time and pull out. It's just so much more space at Tiger Lane. And even when people are walking around, you're not so crowded elbow to elbow like on Riverside Drive would get at nights down the river. It was so packed you couldn't go down it some nights.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure as operations, you couldn't get down it on a golf cart. ICE people couldn't get down it. I mean, it was just terrible. Yeah. I mean, logistical speaking. So I would hate to have had your job and having to deal with people screaming about, I need the ICE person, I ain't got no power, I need to get somebody to you. And I know y'all had the back alleys designed in those things, but sometimes, let's face it, the way the water was of people's sites, and it's soaked in the back there, and it's always mud. Yeah. At least now, it's a little more convenient to work on things and get around in Liberty Park.
Oh, yeah. Oh, trust me, yeah. I mean, there were times I hated having my job too. But no, you're right. I mean, there were times where we would just not even bother doing anything from an operation standpoint until after loadout was done because we couldn't get around, and it was just a cluster on Riverside Drive.
So, as far as the space at Liberty Park, how does that change when you approach it from a team layout? Have y'all looked at giving the teams more space eventually, keeping the lot sizes the same as they've always been? I just didn't know, has any of that ever been discussed about upping the booth sizes now that you have the space and the teams kind of stay about the same?
No, other than the spaces on actually on Tiger Lane, what I call the pods, on the lawn or or Tiger Lane, because those are, when we started looking at it back in 22, it didn't make a lot of sense to try and split that space up. So, we made those spaces 34 by 54 because it's a 40 by 60, parking pod. But other than that, no, we hadn't really, but that goes to what we were talking about earlier, evolving over time. The space sizes haven't changed really in 20 years or something like that.
Something like that.
And they were designed for a specific purpose, for a specific location. And it's tough to kind of shake off the things that you've always done. And
you'd probably have to add more equipment too, and more fencing, and more this and that.
I mean, not necessarily, but I think that's something definitely to look at in the future, and that also comes to feedback from the teams as far as do you want a different size space, or do you want a bigger space, or because I remember years ago, there was such a thing as there was a 40 by 60 space, or a 40 by 40 was like a regular, was a normal size space. I won't say the team name, but y'all had.
I had 90 foot one time.
Yeah.
We negotiated because of the way the lot was laid out, and we couldn't get the same square footage in a 34 by 54. And I said, well, what if we just turn it and go the other way and stop in the back, not as far? And everybody looked at me like, okay, I don't think it was like 20 more square foot doing it that way or something. I was going to gain.
You're at a big spot.
And they were like, okay, we'll do it. And that was a big spot. And there's a lot of people that's, what's the other team that throws one of the biggest parties now? What's those guys? They all come out of New Orleans and everywhere else.
Cadillac?
No, not Cadillac Grillers.
I don't know.
I hesitate to mention any name because it makes it sound like I'm calling somebody out for being a party team.
No,
I
they
just know the
throw a
Cadillac
huge
Grillers
party.
have
Those
a
guys
big
throw a
party
huge
too.
party. Who I'm thinking about. They do a great job, a hell of a job. And I'm glad I got out of those days myself. Because at one time we used to sell $100,000 in catering. I don't think y'all knew that, but I was running that many people through our booth.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, we were feeding pulled pork and ribs and chicken and hors d'oeuvres and whatever we could, running groups in from Wednesday all the way to Friday, the end of Friday, before I could contest on Saturday. And then we would spend pretty much all that money partying. I mean, that we made.
And
off
clean
the
up all
catering.
that mess before
And clean
judging
up all the mess
came
before judging come. That was
from all those
Yeah, it's
people.
probably best that I didn't know that, honestly. But
well. I think y'all come and eat the Wednesday night that we boiled all the crawfish and lobster and shrimp. And did you eat then when I done all that one time?
I did not. I don't eat.
Well, we poured out some food one year. I had some cooks hired and friends that come helped, and it was I think we poured out 6, 7 tables of crawfish and shrimp.
I'm sure everybody else was
Seafood.
there.
Oh,
I know
everybody
Kevin
loved
was there.
Yeah, everybody. I think all the teams were there. I've got pictures of so many people. People
We're
still
not
talk about
going
that.
back to those days.
I'm not going back to those days. I'm done with all that. And now that's why I'm low key. I like doing my little bit of stuff during the day, and by 5 p.m. I'm usually out of the park, except for the day that y'all do awards, the ancillary awards. We stay for the awards because we cook the ancillaries. But other than that, we leave at 5 o'clock. I'm kind of like some of the old timers. I'm ready to go.
I hear.
And
I
I'm
hear
going to be
that.
back about 4:30 in the morning.
I hear
Nobody
that.
else is there. That's when I'm coming back, 5 in the morning. I mean, it just feels, I don't know. And ever since I changed that motto, for me personally, I started doing a lot better at Memphis in May. My focus got a lot better. Everything when I started going home and getting away from the night crowd. And I'm not saying that's everybody's recipe to success, but that was definitely mine. Me separating myself from the crowd, going home, getting my rest, getting up early, and then coming back. That was a lot better than staying until 10, 11 o'clock, drinking and raising cane with everybody else.
Or 11 if we were lucky.
Yeah, if we were lucky. We usually stay till the police officers kindly ask everyone to leave without a wristband. Used to.
Yeah.
That's what I was envisioning when you were talking about trying to get back up the street, how it would be so crowded and the
Yeah.
police would be screaming at everybody and
Everybody
everybody
got to
was-
shut it
was
down,
just
cut off the
awful.
music, cut off. And you know what? I think you see all those teams when they first start, they're like that. And as
Yeah.
the years go by, I think everybody progresses into roping themselves back in a little smaller.
Oh yeah, and I mean, there are, there are a lot of teams, who've been around since, 99, well before 99, and I know how hard it is, for me to, to do this now, 30 years later. They're the same,
I mean, it's not the same. I'm not a spring chicken jumping up down off a trailer anymore. No. I say that. I mean, it's hard. As many times it'll get on your knees going in and out of a trailer off the pavement, just nonstop.
Yeah, I've
And a
been
lot of
to-
people don't realize that doing 30 events a year like that and in and out, it'll take a toll on you. And that's why
absolutely.
when I stopped, I mean, let me ask this: how many events have you ever produced in a year? Doing operations.
42, 43, something like that.
So you know what it takes. It takes a toll on you to do back to back to back to back to back like that.
Yeah, that's why I kind of got out of that part of it, and I looked at going back to Memphis in May as almost like a vacation compared to what I was doing, just because it's intense for 3-4 months out of the year, but the rest of the
Not all year long.
and so yeah, that was an event every 5, 6, 7 days is tough to
That's like reloading for another barbecue contest, hitting the road again. That's what that sounds like to me. As far as an operations standpoint, what advice can you give teams to make it easier on you when they roll in?
Just don't. Whatever. No. I mean,
besides being prepared,
that's pretty much it. I mean, a lot of these guys, not you when I say y'all, but speaking to the general community, y'all been doing this, for how many years? I know because you remind me all the time how many years you've been doing this. You should have it figured out by now, or you should have it down to a science. Just get it together. That makes it easier on you, makes it easier on everybody. But
everybody needs a spreadsheet. I tell everybody that.
Everybody needs a spreadsheet or
an SOP. You need something to go by.
A schedule.
Yes.
Something. But beyond that, just a little patience goes a long way. And understand, the volunteers, pretty much most of the people that you're going to run into as a team on site are going to be volunteers. And, these people, they're not getting paid to do this. They're doing it because they love Memphis In May, they love barbecue. They're there to make this thing happen for everybody. So, particularly in their case, you can yell at me all day long. Not going to bother me. But, a little bit of kindness for those people who are, taking their vacation from their regular job
to work
do
harder
this,
doing that than they
to
do
work,
at their job.
Oh, absolutely.
And we try to we bring the volunteers. We offer them water, food when we have it ready, because that's what you should do. I mean, to me, they're out there spending their time. I mean, we try to do it, and we've had some great ambassadors as far as, who's been assigned to us over the years. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, everybody's been really good to work with. I think as long as, like you said, being kind goes a long way. You catch more flies with honey.
Absolutely.
I mean, I like to say that all the time. All you got to do is be sweet. That's it.
That's right.
Wow.
What's something about the behind-the-scenes operations at Memphis In May that you think might surprise attendees or participants, or anything behind the scenes that people wouldn't normally think would go on, maybe?
Did I sleep on a couch in the Pipkin building?
That's true. You did tell us that.
I think just the amount of time that it, 18, 20-hour days are a normal thing. Yeah. And, we're there for, with doing the barbecue contest and Great American River Run, we're there for 4 weeks. And it's, 7 days a week for 4 weeks.
And that's time
20
away
hours
from
a day.
your family and everything else too.
Yeah, although, probably some of them look at it as a break.
Vacation.
Oh, Dad's going on vacation. But, that, and again, just how many people it takes, how much we get done in such a short amount of time. I mean, we load in from the time we get possession of the park until teams start loading in. We get the park on a Monday, teams start loading in on a Saturday. Mm-hmm.
So y'all only get 6 days in the park beforehand?
5 days. It'd be 3 if it was up to some. Some teams are wanting to load in on Thursday, or if we're ready, we'll let teams load in on Friday. But no, we pretty much have 3-4 days to get.
That's if weather permits, right?
Well, I mean,
pavement makes it better, right?
Pavement makes it better, but it's
lightning, those types of things. You're not going to endanger people, I'm sure.
No, I mean, we have, if we still monitor the weather on load-in days
Right.
and load-out days, and we've certainly stopped work because of that. But job still has to get done, and
Right.
we get a hard deadline of Wednesday at 5 p.m. gates are opening. Saturday morning, teams are loading in, so we got to get our stuff
Make it
done.
Y'all have been down the wire several years, though, on load-in, just because the weather on a lot of times, and before
Yes.
on the river, just Music Fest in general, right? Trying to get stages out of the way and all that.
Yeah, and I mean, that is, that's probably the biggest, or was the biggest challenge.
The flip.
The flip. Beale Street Music Festival ended on Sunday night at 10 or 11 o'clock, and we had to have
Barbecue load-in ready by Saturday morning.
Yeah, so, by Wednesday, we had to get the park staked out. Wednesday, Thursday, get the park staked out. So, whoever the tent company was and the electricians and everybody else could kind of get, their stuff done before teams start loading on Saturday. So, no, I mean, that turnaround was always
Terrible.
was always tough.
Wow. Well, if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice at the start of your career for Memphis in May, what would it be?
Learn how to play an instrument.
That's a good one.
Get up. Being a kid, no. Even though I fell into this, lucked into it, I somehow managed to make a career out of this by accident. But I love what I do, and again, I can't imagine what my life would be like without having been involved with Memphis in May, just because of all the people that I've met, and again, friends and relationships and all that other stuff. So
That's right. All that matters, though.
it does. I mean, I don't know. I honestly can't think of. I would have given myself horrible. I would have given myself horrible advice. 30 years ago. So
I think all of us would have done that.
oh yeah,
For sure.
I can't. I can't think of any good decisions I made when I was in my 20s. So
I guess I can concur with that.
maybe again, maybe one Memphis in May, but no.
Well, I just want to tell you thank you for coming on and kind of talking about the operation side of
No,
Memphis in
thank
May,
you.
because a lot of times people don't get to or don't know what goes on behind the scenes or what it takes to put on an event this caliber. And when you start working on it, 7-8 months out, and then you're really, what did you say, about 5 months is what you have to turn around to make the event happen into the
Pretty
new
much, yeah.
year, right? And you're still doing stuff in the back end the other months of the paperwork, and then it's boots on the ground the other 4 months,
Yeah.
and then it's starting to lay it all out the beginning of May. So that's a lot for you, and I don't know. I wouldn't want all that on my plate to deal with.
Well, and we don't want anybody to know what it. They shouldn't realize what it takes. Definitely don't want them to see that sausage being made, because it can get pretty messy behind the scenes. So as long as from the patron standpoint, the judge's standpoint, everybody sees the finished product and it's a good product, then we've done our job. And the other thing I'll say is, we've got a great staff. We've got a great core of volunteers. I've got a great team. So, and all of our vendors and partners, it takes, literally 1,000 people to do this event. We can't do it without any of them. So it ain't me. It's
a coop of people, right?
It is a village. It's a coop. It's a herd. It's a flock, whatever. But it's a lot. And again, we couldn't do it without every single one of those people involved, and we appreciate them.
Good. Well, we appreciate y'all, like I said, coming on the show and making the event happen, and we're looking forward to the 2025 event. And we're already starting to kind of prepare ourselves for it and order things and get ready. And I guess that's part of it. It's the beginning of the year and pre-planning and getting everything ready to go.
Well,
so
thank you. We appreciate you. You've been a good friend of the festival. We appreciate you, and thanks for having me. And I'm excited about this year. Looking forward to seeing y'all down there and everybody else. So
I'm looking forward to seeing where the stage ends up, I guess.
Me too.
Me too. Well, we'll see y'all next week on another episode of Shootin The Que.
If you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, please feel free to reach out to us on our social media channels. Leave us a review if you've enjoyed the show. And until next time, keep shooting the Que.